All right, let's get started. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Telling Your CDFI Story with Analytics and Data Visualization. Thank you for taking the time to join us today. We know everybody's schedules are full. I'm Dave Soucy, and I'll be your host today. We've put together what's hopefully a practical, example-driven session for you to help you see how tools like Power BI and Tableau can make reporting easier, faster, and frankly, a lot less frustrating while helping you tell your mission's story in a more powerful way. Before we start, let me go over a couple of housekeeping items, if you don't mind. If you could, please ensure you're all on mute. You know, webinars can be a bit challenging when there's some background noise coming through. As Sam said, please feel free to drop your name, your org name, where you're from into the chat. Also, we'll have time at the end for Q&A, but please feel free to drop any questions in the chat box at any time as we go, and we'll try to hit them as we go along. Finally, final housekeeping note, we do know that AI note takers are becoming more popular, but we don't allow them in these webinars. Reason being, we have attendees from dozens of orgs here, and each with their own AI policies. As those note takers can often use the content they monitor to train their models, we recognize not everybody's cool with that, so we don't allow them in. That being said, this webinar is being recorded, and the recording and slides will be shared with all registrants after the webinar. All right, so here's our plan for the next 45 minutes or so. We're going to start with some quick intros and a bit about Craftsman. We'll look at some of the common reporting challenges CDFIs face. We'll explore how BI tools can help solve those challenges. We'll show some tool examples that can save you time and improve your data quality. We'll talk about how you can tell compelling stories with your data. And finally, as I said, we'll leave time at the end for Q&A. A little bit about us. CTG works exclusively with nonprofits and mission-driven organizations. We've partnered with a number of CDFIs over the years to help them better leverage their technology. We don't contract out or offshore any of our work. We are a team of about 60 full-time salaried professionals, all based in the US. Also, we're a certified B Corp and an employee-owned company. We moved to employee ownership back in 2022, and now every employee, once they've been with us for 6 months, becomes an owner of Craftsman. We recently just celebrated our 10th year as a firm. We are a Salesforce partner, and only one of 4 partners globally to hold Navigator Expert distinctions in nonprofits, managed services, and nonprofit solutions, along with some other distinctions as well. While just about everybody on our team has multiple Salesforce certifications, we also have experts with Tableau certs, Microsoft Azure, Power BI certifications, PMP certifications, Scrum Master, and others. Most of our clients have Salesforce as the hub of their CRM, but we also work with them on adjacent platforms and tools, including things like accounting systems, document storage systems, data warehouses, email marketing systems, loan servicing platforms, and other tools that tie into their overall CRM system. While we work with a wide variety of nonprofit organizations in health, food insecurity, inclusive communities, the arts, and other areas, community development orgs, and specifically CDFIs make up the largest vertical in our portfolio. The logos here on this slide represent just a sample of the orgs we've worked with, and I'm happy to see a number of our current clients joining us here on the call today. Thanks for being here. So today I'm joined by a couple people here who are going to present today. Kayla Parker is one of our senior business analysts. She helps clients translate their business needs into actionable analytics and visuals. And Nick Hyland is our data architect, and he focuses on system integrations and data architecture. As you already heard, Sam Mariquis, our marketing manager, is also here. He's going to keep an eye on the chat for any questions. And I'm Dave Soucy, the director of our CD practice here at Craftsman. All right, let's get into it. Your work has incredible impact, but showing that impact requires data. right? Good, clean data. Funders, boards, internal leadership need to see both the numbers and the story they tell. But as we all know, compiling that data into clear, usable formats, it can be difficult and time consuming for your staff. I'm going to turn it over to Kayla now, and she'll talk through some of these challenges. Kayla?
Yeah, thank you, Dave. I want to start off with common challenges that I see across my portfolio of clients. A lot of times your data might be spread across different systems, and this could be for very good reasons. You have purpose-built systems that do their individual jobs really well, and maybe the data is coming from them, and we want to keep it there, but we also want to be able to bring it together to show the holistic picture of, again, all the impact and good work that your organization is doing. So therefore, you might have data in a couple of different places. That could include Salesforce, that could include spreadsheets, your loan servicing system, et cetera. And maybe because of the disparate places all this data is living, when you are doing your annual, quarterly, whenever impact reporting, I think you are therefore copying and pasting data to try and bring it together. Which might be creating errors for you. You're in the mad scramble of, oh, XYZ funder needs to see a report of our programmatic data and our loan data together, but those live in two separate places. So now I have to talk to this person over here, grab their spreadsheet, copy and paste it with this export from this system over here. And you've got to do that in about, half an hour, 2 hours, whatever the time frame is. And as I just mentioned, you have difficulty combining that data due to potentially formatting issues or just differences between those two sources of data. And maybe even the data model or how it is stored in each of those systems is causing issues with trying to bring it together. We've maybe all had the experience of having an origination system and a servicing system, and needing to bring together the impact data that you track at the time of origination in conjunction with some of the current principal balance, the risk rating for certain loans, et cetera, but you don't have a common indicator or ID between those two systems that allows you to easily identify, hey, this borrower who started off with us in this application over here now has this loan over here in the system due to how the IDs are structured, et cetera. Could be any number of issues. Next slide, please. Great. And even if you are storing most of your data or most of your business activities are happening in a centralized CRM such as Salesforce, you're probably still hitting some limitations with reporting. Salesforce is really good for snapshots, but it's not so great at bringing in multiple sources of data. There's not really a way to just connect in our programmatic data that might be living in a spreadsheet or our servicing data. Previously, you might have done that with a full integration, but we'll get into some of the limitations of that as well. Salesforce dashboards lack some of the more advanced visuals that we're going to show you here today, such as everyone's favorite maps, area charts, tree maps, ribbon charts, and some of the more advanced visuals that you can do, such as customizing tooltips and having legends. Of course, you can make small tweaks to dashboards and visuals within Salesforce. You can change up the colors, you can create your own titles and labels, but there's a whole new world that gets unlocked when you move over to an advanced reporting tool. And also, one of the issues you might be experiencing with Salesforce reports is you're really limited by that Salesforce data model as well. With custom reports, you can pull in up to 3 Salesforce objects into a single report, but oftentimes, especially for my CDFI clients, you're doing complex work, and therefore you have a complex data model that is underlying a lot of that work. So you have your project, your deal, and then you have your transaction, your uses, you have your programmatic data over here, and maybe a separate program object. You've got the funds coming in through opportunities. All of that is maybe 6 or 7 different places that all of this important data is living, even just within Salesforce, and it's challenging to pull it in with just native Salesforce reports. So it leads me to the opportunity that we have when we select an advanced reporting tool, such as Microsoft Power BI or Tableau. I'll get into a demo in just a few minutes on some of the dashboards that you can configure. These are some of the highlights of using a tool for advanced analytics. You can automate the refresh of the underlying data. You can eliminate some of that repetitive copying and pasting from those other sources. You create the data model in your Power BI, your Tableau, and then you can use that over and over again and have that refresh to bring in the new data as it gets updated on whatever cadence you need. And then being able to create really interactive and tailored dashboards using that same data model. So you do a lot of the upfront work once, and then you're able to create visuals that are geared towards different audiences, such as, an external dashboard that you might embed on your website, an executive dashboard that is for your CEO, another dashboard that is geared towards your lending team, another one for programs, all of that pulling from that same data model. So now, storytelling. And all of that leads you to being able to really tell the story of your CDFI and making key visuals that tell the impact, connecting all of the work that you're doing and being able to display that information to key individuals, your funders, your board, being able to tell folks with a quick and powerful visual, hey, this is all the good work we're doing. Here are the communities we're serving. Here's where they're located. Here's the demographics of those folks. And being able to really, again, tell everybody about all the good work that I know everyone on this call is doing.
All right, I'll switch sharing here. So Kayla, you can launch into your demo.
Perfect, thank you. I'm gonna start off actually with us looking at a data model, the semantic model of the dashboards I'm about to show you in just a second. I know this is kind of a scary spider web, but I just want to show you an example of that upfront work that then is driving the visuals here and talk about some of the key features of being able to leverage a advanced reporting tool. So on the screen here, I'm showing you the underlying data model, which is how I'm connecting all the disparate pieces of information. Every little white card you see on here is, you can think of as a table or a single tab on a spreadsheet. And then the lines here are just making connections between them. And then I can pull on all of those lines of connection to bring the data together in conversation with each other. So you can have a complex data model like this. We set it up once, and then again, able to make multiple different dashboards and visuals using this exact same model. Many of the cards that you are seeing on the screen here are coming from a demo Salesforce org that we have set up. But I also have a couple of places where I'm pulling in some spreadsheets to show you that I can have this same data model that's pulling in from multiple sources. So some of these might be familiar to you if you're using Salesforce for such as your origination process right now, like project, impact, uses, source, all of that is from Salesforce. But I also have a spreadsheet of loan servicing data that I'm pulling in here as well. So that's containing my risk rating, my current outstanding balances, my principal amounts, etc. So that's all coming in here into one model. And then I'm able to pull on these individual pieces of data and bring them together. So scary spider web, we do all the upfront work with you on this, and then we're able to get to the good stuff, which is the dashboards themselves. So let me just swap over to my online version. So with that data model, I'm then able to take that and convert that into visualizations, pulling on all those different pieces of data and the connections I have made in the semantic model. So I'm starting off here with an example of maybe an external dashboard that you might post on your website, embed it there, etc. I'll just take a moment to walk through the different types of visuals that you're seeing on the screen. So I've got a lot of examples of card visuals here, which are great for individual data points. And they're just summing up the total loans closed year to date and count amount. And I'm also using cards over here on the side as well to show the percentage of those loans closed to different demographics. And then a fan favorite, everyone loves the maps. So I'm using a maps to just show projects where they are located with different states. And then the little box that pops up here when I hover over a particular state is called a tooltip. And I'm just using that to display more information about the projects for that particular state. So I'm showing in the state of California, our total loans closed and amount for year to date. I can also configure this tooltip to show additional visualizations if I would like. So I could even have it be a breakdown of the industry within this tooltip on the state as well, which is obviously something that you cannot do in a Salesforce report or dashboard that I think is really cool and useful. And then I've also got a simple bar chart over here on the side as well, showing loans closed by different industries. A couple of things I want to talk about with this one is you'll notice that I have a category that is blank. One of the nice features about starting to move towards doing advanced analytics and visuals is that it really highlights where you might be missing data. And a lot of times with my clients, what I see is they really need to cultivate a culture of data in order to be filling in all this good information about what you're doing into your system of record so that you can then pull out those data points into visuals. So having all of that data in visuals like this helps you figure out where are we missing pieces, where is data not being filled in. And when you're checking things like this dashboard weekly, that allows you as maybe the chief of lending to say to your staff like, it looks like we're missing some key data points about the industry, the demographics of our clients we're serving. We really need to go in and fill that in. And that's much easier to do on a weekly basis when you're able to see that you have these gaps here, rather than waiting for that quarterly report where you're scrambling, trying to bring it all together, the annual report, and you're like, oh shoot, half of our loans closed this year, we forgot to collect whatever that key piece of data is. And then you're scrambling to go back through your applications, pull that out. If you develop really a weekly practice of looking at your data, making sure that all of the key metrics are inputted there, you're gonna have a much easier time then at those key reporting deadlines because you'll have all the information there at your fingertips. So it's actually great that we can see that there are some gaps here that need to be filled in. And as I click around on this visual, the rest of the dashboard filters itself on whatever criteria I highlight here. So if I click on an industry here in my industry bar chart, you'll then see that the rest of my metrics filter here. I can unselect that, deselect the filter, and same here on the map. If I wanted to see just Massachusetts, I can now automatically just filter that by selecting that state here on my map. So really interactive, really gives you a lot of information here, just in a simple visual here that's just using a couple of examples of visualization types. So let's look at a slightly different example. This is geared more towards what I would see as an executive at your organization, pulling in a couple of different data points across the organization here. So starting at the top, focusing on our lending data, I'm looking at pipeline by stage here. I've got it ordered in the order of my stages for origination, going from inquiry all the way to closed. I've got my loans by state here. Also in a bar chart, I've just got it sorted on lowest to highest here, so you can scroll through. But if I want to, I could do it alphabetically, etc. I've got a lot of different sort options within this. I've got another card visual here showing my loans closed in count, in amount. And then I've got a card here as well that is showing my top funders for the organization. So pulling in some of that capitalization or the fundraising arm of your org and pulling those numbers in and showing you who are our main funders that the CEO might need to be talking to or having meetings with, in the coming weeks, months, years, who's the main people we need to be making and cultivating connections with. And then doing a quick stacked bar chart here on my project count by month and year. So organizing and trying to see patterns within your application process to see where are our busy months, what are our slowdown periods, is there any sort of pattern to these across the different years? This data is a little bit messy because it's a data environment, a demo environment, excuse me. So we're not seeing too many patterns here, but the idea is that this would be able to surface those to you. It does look like we do have a small pattern of November and December being way down across us a number of years. And And again, I'm seeing a category that is blank, meaning that this date isn't filled out. So that would be a signal to me of like, hey, let's go back and make sure we're filling in our application dates for all of our projects to make sure that we can do the analysis we want to in comparing, do we have slowdown periods throughout months, year over year. Towards the bottom, I'm pulling in some more metrics on closed investments year to date, an average risk rating, which is what I'm pulling from my servicing spreadsheet, total outstanding balance, again, pulling that from my servicing spreadsheet of data, and available funds. So looking at how much money do we have that we could be lending out or using towards funding, either in the form of investments or grants for our community that we serve. And again, this dashboard, right, if I click on pieces of it, I can filter it. I've got a year drop down here. So I can select like 2025. Maybe that's not the best one. Let's go 2024. Here we go. So I could filter it by year. Otherwise, if I hit the little clear selections here, I bring it back to all time. And then I'm using certain individuals to certain visuals to drill down into individual years here, just within this without needing to filter it, but I definitely can. So these are just a few examples of different types of visualizations. Again, great for highlighting your missing data. I'm pulling from multiple sources, all just within that semantic model, that data model. I'm able to refresh this data at a specific interval. Nick's going to talk a little bit about different refresh options specifically for Power BI. And again, I have an executive dashboard and an external dashboard using that same model, and then just pulling out different pieces of data that's going to be speak to those individual audiences. And it's much easier to do the semantic model once and then be able to make all these different dashboards that are just pulling on different pieces of that model. Great. And now I'm going to hand it over to Nick, who's going to talk about some more exciting features with Power BI.
Great. Thank you, Kayla. I will share my screen. Okay. So I'm back on this same dashboard that Kayla was looking at to just talk about some of the other features that she hadn't touched on yet. So one of them being the refreshes. You'll see up here, there's a little refresh visual where you can go to make sure the dashboard is updated with all the most up-to-date data from the data source. As far as getting access to data in those data sources, Kayla talked about you can access Salesforce data, spreadsheet data, a number of other systems, a data warehouse or another database that you may have. There are different refresh cadences that are available for those. For Salesforce, the Power BI base license allows for 8 refreshes per day. So you could do something like hourly within working hours or some cadence similar to that. If we use SharePoint or OneDrive to store Excel files or things like that we're using as a data source, that can be done, that automatically is updated hourly as well. And then there are some data sources like a data warehouse or certain databases that can actually be live. But worth flagging that I think a benefit of Salesforce reporting is you always have that up-to-date Salesforce data. You're limited to Salesforce data, but you do have real time with the BI tools. There's a little bit of delay, but when you're getting it hourly, that's usually about as regular as you're ever going to need it to be. Okay, now going into some other features. So you'll see that Kayla and I were both looking at the dashboard from the Power BI website, the web portal, which is a common way to look at it. But in terms of sharing these dashboards around, there are tons of different options. You'll see I'll kind of be going through this top ribbon up here. The share button opens up a ton of different options for sharing. I'd say this group of options is more so within your org. So it's similar to how you'd share an Excel file or something else in the Microsoft suite, where you can copy a share link and choose your sharing settings. You can also copy a link and send it via email, through Microsoft Teams, or even link it in a PowerPoint slide. Power BI is part of the Microsoft ecosystem, and so it's very tied into other Microsoft tools, which is a great bonus. Some other options, if you're trying to share it with someone external, so maybe a board member or a funder, you're able to export it as a PowerPoint or a PDF. So to just get like a snapshot of a given dashboard to share outwardly. One feature that can be great with this is we can actually set up a report that has a funder filter on it. So you can choose, I want funder ABC I want to send this report specifically for anything related to that, to their funding. You can filter that dashboard and then share out a specific snapshot of that view, which is super convenient. Some other options, you'll see it down here. You're actually able to embed a Power BI dashboard on a website or a portal. So oftentimes we have clients that are publishing this to their public-facing website for the public to view. Maybe a different dashboard than you're sharing internally, but that's an option as well. It's also an option to embed within Salesforce itself, which can be a great feature so that users, if they're mostly in Salesforce when reviewing data, they can still access some of these Power BI visuals while staying within the Salesforce system. Some other fun features up here, you can subscribe to get an email snapshot of the report on some cadence, like a daily cadence, to make sure you're up to date without actually having to go in and review the web portal itself every day. And then a great feature is you're able to set alerts on a Power BI dashboard. So you'll see here, I have this closed loans year to date alert where I'm actually tracking the value that's popping up on this dashboard, and I want to know when it gets to 25 million. So I will be notified, in this case via Teams, when it reaches a certain value. Can also be notified via email, but there may be certain metrics that you're paying attention to that you really want to be up to date when something reaches a certain point, and that's a great feature to do so.
Nick, I'm going to interject really quick. There's a question in the chat. Question is, users need some type of paid license in order to share and view the dashboard internally, right? When I tried to use the free license, it seemed like the only option was to publish it to web, which we didn't want.
Yeah, so if you're sharing internally, then you're going to want the license. If any free version, you have to make it like publicly available to share out to non-licensed users. So yeah, the paid licenses are going to be necessary in that case. Dave, I see you unmuting.
No, I was just going to throw that question in if Sam didn't. So
great, awesome. Okay, now I'm going to move on to a little bit more of an advanced feature of Power BI. We talk about data cleanliness and kind of reducing the amount of manual work you're doing when getting data into a reporting dashboard like this. And a feature of Power BI that we like a lot is called Power Query. And it does some of that data cleanup for you. So right here, I have a spreadsheet of data. This is just some dummy data that's meant to model a loan servicing system. So this could be like a monthly report that you're taking from your loan servicing system with some very high level information about the borrower. There might be a business name, an address, some very basic information. And obviously this is not comprehensive for what you'd actually be getting out of your loan servicing system. But you'll see in this case, there are some constraints around this external system and how you're able to get data out. So the borrower name, it comes out in this last name, comma, first name format, which may not be ideal. The address is all condensed into one field, which is really hard to report on. You're not able to report on these text values if there's no way to tell, what is the state, what is the zip code, what is the city that this business is located in, things like that. So here's the source data that we're working off of, and then I'll show using Power Query to kind of clean up this data and put it in a format that's a little bit easier to report on. I will click in here. You'll see this is just the same data set, but pulled in to start up here, pulled into Power Query. There are a ton of steps over here. We don't need to get into the specifics. But the main thing I want to note here is, again, we have this address column. There isn't too much that can be done if we're just plugging this straight in as is. We want to split out the different address field values into multiple columns so that we can actually report on it. So I click down a few steps. You'll see that with Power Query, I'm able to split that out into street, city, state, and zip code. And as Kayla had mentioned as part of her demo, this is something that you do the work once, and then as this report coming out of your loan servicing system is updated, or you replace it with a newer version, this work has already been set up for you, and the cleanup is done automatically.
Jumping in real quick with something else from the chat.
Yep.
The person who asked the previous question said, and just to confirm, if a paid license user shares a private dashboard with someone, the viewer still needs a paid license as well to access it?
Correct.
Okay. And there's a separate question about, are there different license levels? Our organization is about to embark on using Power BI, but only purchasing 4 licenses for those working with the data. We weren't aware of everyone in our org potentially needing licenses to view the visualizations.
There are different license levels. We find most of our clients are fine with just the Power BI Pro license, which is the lowest level. I actually don't think we've had a case yet where folks have needed to go up to the premium level. Some examples of what that gives you. We talked about the refreshes. Salesforce is limited to like 8 times a day with the Pro license. With premium, that increases to, I think it's maybe like 24 times a day or something. So if you have a case where you really need that functionality, it may make sense, but for most clients, we find that that's not necessary. Yeah. Anything I missed, Kayla or Dave?
So just to be clear, Nick, in order to view the visualizations, somebody will need a license unless the visualization was made public. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah. So for certain data that you have, it may be worth it to you to just, hey, we'll make this public. It's actually not, there's nothing that needs to be secure about it. That's fine. We don't want to pay for the licenses. That may make sense. But a lot of times you're going to want to go for the licenses.
Okay. Jennifer, did that answer your question? So what do you mean by making the data public, Nick? Can you just clarify that piece a little bit?
Yeah, so it's, I think I guess the example would be, if you're publishing it or embedding it in your website in a public, like in a public way, not everyone that's surfing your website has a Power BI license or like is logged in when they're viewing. They still can view the data on the website, but not. It's like that is kind of the example of that.
So if they were embedding it into Salesforce and someone had a Salesforce license, would they still need a Power BI license?
I think if it was publicly available, they would not.
Okay. So you'd restrict who could see it via the Salesforce license though, right?
Yeah. I want to maybe learn more about the specific use case and get back to this person, but
Can
yeah,
follow up as well. There's another follow-up question of if it's embedded publicly on the website. I think this person is asking, they're just seeing the visuals and not the underlying data, correct?
Yeah, so there are settings that you can, so I'm just gonna go off sharing briefly. There are settings that you can set up when you're sharing data out publicly to make sure people can't actually go and download like a spreadsheet version of the data or somehow get to the data source and make sure they're just looking at the visuals themselves. Yeah. Let's do one more.
So there is another question here, Nick. internally, if we're just trying to build a dashboard view for one department head, that one department head would need a separate license for metrics access, is the question.
For metrics access, not necessarily fancy those way. I think you would want to give that department head a license. Do you just mean access to the data itself? If you're not talking about visualization. Yeah, actually, because if you're just taking snapshots, like if you're taking a PDF snapshot of a dashboard, and that's sufficient to share with that department head, and they want to distribute the PDF with their team of the certain metrics, and it doesn't need to be anything fancy, then that's a fine option. I don't know if that answers the question. Great.
Yeah, he said got it.
Awesome. Okay, back to the Power Query example. Okay, so just as a reminder, we use Power Query to split out that address data in order to make it easier to report on. And then as I continue updating this report over time, say it's a monthly update that I'm swapping it out, it's continuously gonna do that cleanup for me. And then what once was a pretty useless text field, we can now use it to map out the different loans here. So nothing fancy. This is just meant to show that these fields are useful, but you can map it out on a state level. And then also you can getting down to the zip code level. See, this org is it's just dummy data, but they're doing most of their work in New England. And so you can really get down to the zip code level and see exactly where loans are going out. Yeah, and this is showing the zip code level, but if you need to look at a county level on a specific state or anything like that, that works as well. All right, and that is it for me. So Dave, I will hand it back to you.
All right, let me go back to sharing my screen again. All right. Can you see my screen, I hope? Yes? All right. All right. Thanks, Nick and Kayla, for those demos. Just a quick note on the demos. As you saw, we did use Power BI in our demo environment today. Tableau, as we had mentioned, is another tool that we do a lot of work with for clients. But we do find that many of our clients are already using Microsoft products and have Microsoft 360 licenses. So generally, we show demos using Power BI. Tableau, which is a Salesforce product, has very similar capabilities, though. So when we do work with clients, we'll go through a discovery process to determine which tool might be better for them and their particular use case. So there's pricing considerations, there's use case considerations, and the licensing considerations there. So it kind of varies by client, but we do that as part of the discovery process. But that's why we used Power BI today. All right, so to recap Nick and Kayla's demos, BI tools can help you become more efficient. You can automate reports, avoid human error, save time by eliminating a lot of the spreadsheet gymnastics that you currently have to do. They can help you keep your data clean. As Kayla showed, they can point out areas where you've got gaps. If you have messy or incomplete data, the visualization tools can highlight that for you. And as Nick showed, they can make cleaning up that data easier for you. And importantly, they can help you tell a better story with your data. The stronger visuals can illustrate detailed impact stories to whether it's internal staff, executives, board members, funders, or other constituents. I will say, too, an important consideration when looking into BI solutions is to be aware of whether you're looking at a solution that you own and control, as we showed today, or if you're being shown a subscription type service where a company offers to host it all for you. That may seem attractive up front, but if you ever decide you no longer want to work with that company or you want to end the subscription, you lose all of your dashboards, reports, and visualizations and would have to start over from scratch. So from our perspective, we always recommend that clients control their own licenses and data. If you work with us on your BI needs, you can end our relationship at any time and your dashboards don't go anywhere. You own them, so you still have them. So something else to consider as you look at different solutions. If any of this resonates with you, we're here to help. Craftsman can help assess your current processes, identify pain points and gaps, consult on tool selection, as I just said, help you implement the right BI solution, and train your staff so you're set up for success. We also do offer ongoing support if you need it, so you are never stuck. If you're interested in more info or a more detailed demo, feel free to reach out to us. If you're one of our current clients, obviously you can just reach out to your client success manager, your CSM. If you're not a current client, we've got a link that Sam, I believe, just shared in the chat, and it'll also be on the slides where you can click that link and schedule a demo directly with us. Current clients, you can also use that link as well if you prefer. All right. Sam, are there any other questions, or does anybody have any other questions at this point?
Nothing
we
in
could
the
answer
chat,
for you.
but we can open up the floor.
All right.
Feel free to drop something in the chat or go off mute and ask any follow-up.
Nick, maybe you can answer this one. I did have someone email a question who couldn't attend, but was hoping for an answer. Can you highlight some of, I just talked about Tableau versus Power BI. Can you highlight any of the major differences between the two that someone would consider if they're choosing a tool?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say, I mean, a big factor is if you're in the Microsoft ecosystem, Power BI brings a lot of value there just because it's going to be a little bit more intertwined with any other Microsoft products you're using. It as we showed, it's can be tied closely with Outlook and Teams. Power Query is very tied in with Excel. So if your team is familiar with Excel and Power Query, it could be helpful in having people on staff that may already be somewhat familiar with that type of tool. Tableau, on the other hand, is a Salesforce product. So embedding things in Salesforce is a little bit easier, but not overly. I'd say how it's been described to me in the past, and I think it describes it well. Tableau is a bit of a heavier tool, a bit more expensive. What I've kind of been told is you can make a Tableau report or Tableau dashboard look like, it doesn't always look like a Tableau dashboard. It can be a little bit more visually striking, I guess, versus Power BI. You can usually tell it's a Power BI dashboard in that like it gets the job done. It still looks great, but it's not as visually customizable, I guess. So there's like little differences like that. For most clients, either one is going to get the job done. Power BI is a little more tied into Microsoft, Tableau a little bit more into Salesforce, just because they're who owns those products. But there aren't. I would say that's the major distinction. And there are some edge cases where a client might choose to go one way or the other, but they largely do the same thing for our clients. I don't know, Kayla, if you have anything to add there.
No, I think that covers it. It's important maybe consideration thinking about like where the users that you want to give access to the visualizations, like what do they currently have access to? Just thinking about like you're going to need to add on licenses in whichever product you're deciding, but with Tableau, you're going to want to go through Salesforce. So maybe if folks aren't already in the Salesforce ecosystem, or the more audience for the visuals are going to be executives who aren't in that system day to day, but they're using, you have a Microsoft 360 account, they're using email, et cetera. It's a little bit easier to, direct them into using a familiar platform. So that would be like my other consideration, is just thinking about like who's going to be the day-to-day users. Is this really about, key departments that are already in the Salesforce ecosystem, maybe that's a point in the favor of Tableau. If it's just for more executives who are not really in the business application a system such as Salesforce at day-to-day, maybe that's a point in the direction of Power BI. But again, it's as Dave said, it's a very individual selection. We're happy to guide you through that based on your individual use cases. But those are our general thoughts and how I would maybe like approach that decision, thinking about who's going to be the main audience, where do they already live, pricing considerations, doing your due diligence on comparing the two tools, and then thinking about important use cases, making sure that if there's any key features that we showed you today that really excite you, such as getting a Teams post, when your organization hits a certain loans closed goal for the year, and that really is like, oh, that's going to drive user adoption for us, and that's really exciting. Like maybe that is a feature that you're like, okay, that pushes us more in this direction. But Nick's correct. Like at its baseline, both of them do really great data analysis and have powerful and customizable visualizations at the end of the day.
One thing I'd add there too is, if you are a Microsoft shop or you already have Salesforce, check with whoever's in charge of your licensing. We have found clients that, for instance, with the level of Microsoft licensing they already had some Power BI licenses available to them, even though they hadn't been using them. And similarly on the Salesforce side, depending on your Salesforce contract, we've come across clients that had Tableau licenses that were going unused as well. So check that as well internally, because you may already have access to one or the other product.
Dave, another question in the chat, likely for you, is anyone from CTG's team going to be at Dreamforce this year?
Dreamforce, no, I do not believe we have any plans to be at Dreamforce that I know of. No one from my team specifically. We may have, I know Karen's on the call. I don't know if she has plans of being there, but currently I do not believe we have any plans of being at Dreamforce. Karen, do you?
No, we are focusing because I believe Dreamforce is also in October, and we have decided to focus our efforts on OFN. And so we hope to see many of you at that space and to reconnect there.
Yeah, if any of you are going to the OFN conference in DC in October, please, we'll have a booth there. We'll have actually a very large booth. So please come by. We'd love to chat with you. I'll be there. Karen will be there. A couple other people from our team will be there as well. So if you are heading there, please, please reach out or at least stop by and see us. Any other questions there, Sam?
Nothing in the chat. People are welcome to jump in if they have something on their mind.
Well, all right. If that's it for the questions, then I want to thank everybody for joining us. Appreciate your time. Hopefully this was helpful. Again, you'll be receiving the recording and slides. I don't want to say exactly when, because I haven't asked Sam when those will go out, but they'll be going out shortly. Yeah. Again, that link to set up a demo will be included there as well. So you'll get the recording as well as the slides. There'll be contact details in the follow-up email too. So feel free to reach out if there's anything we can do or any questions we can answer. And again, appreciate your time. Have a great rest of your day, everybody.
There is one final question.
Oh, all right.
If we have 2 minutes. Do you have any experience with Amazon QuickSight?
QuickSight, I don't believe we have any clients currently using that I know of. Zach is not on the call today. Zach's our Senior Director of Technical Services. I want to defer to him. We can check and see if we have worked with any. I don't believe we have any currently using Amazon QuickSight.
I know we do Amazon Web Services and some other Amazon products.
Yes, but I'm not sure that we have any active clients using that right now.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I don't think we have anyone on QuickSight, and there's also like Google's Looker Studio are kind of similar tools that we don't work as closely with, but I think a lot of the principles that we talked about today can be applied to those tools, or there are other tools out there as well. So
Yeah, Google Looker used to be Google Data Studio. If anybody's familiar with that term, they rebranded it to Looker. So. All right. Well, thank you,
Thanks,
everybody. Have a great day, and look forward to seeing any of you at OFN. Thanks.
Everyone.
Okay.